Welcome back to One Round. Since Harold Gurewitz has been kind enough to stay with us, we're going to go a second round with him and talk a little bit more about the sentencing of former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. Now, Harold, you mentioned earlier that sentences are going up, up, up. Is this indicative of a desire on our part to sort of solve these problems by throwing big sentences at them as opposed to trying to find other means to get through these issues?
What happens is that every time a case comes before a court, somebody, either the court or the prosecutor, looks to another example to say that's what the appropriate level is. And so the standard keeps on rising. It keeps on getting higher and higher. There was a case that happened a couple of years earlier in Cleveland with a county commissioner who was sentenced to 28 years. And because of that, it appears that that became the floor, the standard for public corruption. One of the things that is interesting is that in each one of these cases, it appears that the prosecutors always say, this one is the worst.
The worst case, right?
And if each one is the worst, you only wonder where we go and what the next one's going to be.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where does it stop?
One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that the United States imprisons more people than any other civilized country in the world, in gross numbers of 2.2 million and per capita. And that number has continued to go up and up and up, and nobody takes into consideration how much that costs. At about $26,000 to $30,000 a year for a young person, but double that for somebody who is closer to the age of 73. It just is not serving the purposes that we want to accomplish in this country, I think. There has to be some reevaluation of things like mandatory minimums and guidelines that got us to where we are today.
How do you think we got here?
Well, that's the way we got here. In 1984, there was a push to be tough on crime, and the federal government revised its rules for sentencing. And then they passed mandatory minimum sentences. And people got used to, I think, it's my view, to high sentences. It's easier to talk about 28 years when judges are giving out 10-year mandatory sentences on a regular basis, or 20-year mandatory sentences on a regular basis for crimes that may be of less significance. And that's how we got here, I believe.
Let me ask you this real quick, just bring it back home. With regard to Kwame Kilpatrick, do you think that you guys are going to make any effort to try and appeal this sentence?
Oh, we are appealing. The appeal has been filed. It's in process. It's going to take a while because this trial took almost 6 months. So there's no way to talk about that process right now in the short time that we have.
I just wanted to know whether or not it was actually.
It is ongoing, and I'm involved in that.
Okay. Do you think that the people of the city of Detroit are? Do you think that they were served in any kind of effective manner by this sentence? Does this serve as maybe a deterrent? Do you think for other politicians here who may be thinking about engaging in that kind of act?
Well, let me speak as a resident of the city of Detroit and say that I hope that as a result of attention that everybody pays to the public process that elects people and watches over prosecutions, that everybody understands this better and we can all be better citizens. I don't know what the result will be. I think I have a lot of ideas for better ways to enforce the law than we've been through in the last 2 years.
I wonder how effective they are at making an example out of him. I don't know if that's necessarily the way.
I think that there's a lot more benefit to having more direct, timely, public investigation and prosecution of offenses than happened here.
I agree with you. Harold, we got to go.
Okay.
Thanks again. Appreciate it. This has been One Round. I'm Darrell Dawsey. Thanks so much.